The Big Book tells us that almost without exception, alcoholics are tortured by loneliness. It talks about how this chilling vapor settles in, creating a darkness that feels like it will never lift. But what if I told you that darkness, even chosen darkness, can create something sweeter? There's an old gardening technique called forcing rhubarb. You take a healthy plant and cover it completely, blocking all light. For weeks, it sits in total darkness. But something beautiful happens. Using its stored energy, the plant sends up long, pale pink stalks that are incredibly tender and sweet, far less tart than normal. The darkness doesn't destroy it. It transforms it. In my own recovery, I've learned that my isolation wasn't just punishment, it was preparation. The darkness I lived in, cut off from everyone, forced me to dig deep into reserves I never knew I had. When I finally stepped into the light of fellowship, I brought something sweeter with me, a deep gratitude for connection, a real tenderness for others' pain, and a profound appreciation for what it means to truly belong. Addiction taught me that people were threats to my supply, my secrets, my walls. Recovery taught me the opposite. Safety isn't found in isolation, it's built through authentic connection. When I started going to meetings, I had to relearn what emotional safety even felt like. It meant telling the truth about how I was doing without fear of judgment. It meant setting boundaries around people and places that could trigger my old habits. Physical safety meant showing up to places where sobriety was celebrated. Relational safety meant choosing fellowship over isolation, even when every fiber of my being wanted to hide. In active addiction, my entire life was structured around avoiding people. I was timing my drinking, hiding my supply, managing my image. Recovery structure is the complete opposite. It's designed to keep me connected. Morning check-ins with my sponsor. Midday texts to friends in recovery. Evening meetings where I can be honest about my day. These aren't chores. They are my lifelines. When isolation whispers that I don't need anyone, my structure reminds me that connection is my oxygen. Willpower is fragile, but our environment is powerful. I had to redesign my space, not just to remove triggers, but to welcome connection. My coffee table now holds recovery books instead of bottles. My phone is filled with fellowship numbers, not dealers. My calendar is filled with meetings and coffee dates, not empty spaces where loneliness could creep back in. I learned to set myself up to win at connection. I started keeping my phone charged for those important calls and wearing my Find Your People hoodie as a daily reminder that community is the goal. Early on, I thought boundaries were walls to keep people out. I was so wrong. Healthy boundaries are actually bridges that allow authentic connection to flourish. I say no to toxic relationships that threaten my sobriety so I can say yes to healing friendships. I step back from chaos not to isolate, but to protect the peace that makes me a better friend and sponsor. My self-talk used to be the voice of isolation. You're better off alone. Nobody understands you. You'll just disappoint them anyway. Recovery taught me to speak to myself with the same compassion I'd offer a newcomer. You belong here. Your story matters. Someone needs to hear what you've learned. The way I speak to myself becomes the way I show up in fellowship, with self-respect and genuine care for the community that saved my life. I used to mistake intensity for intimacy, those dramatic, all-or-nothing relationships that burned bright and crashed hard. Recovery shows me that real connection is built on consistency. 10 minutes of honest conversation is better than hours of small talk. One genuine check-in text means more than a dozen shallow interactions. These small, consistent acts reshape my life. Like that rhubarb plant emerging sweeter after its time in darkness, my isolation wasn't wasted time. It was preparation. The time I spent in treatment, cut off from my old life, forced me to develop internal resources I never knew I had. I emerged with gifts, empathy born from suffering, gratitude forged in loneliness, and a fierce love for authentic community. So here's a challenge for you this week. Attend one extra meeting. Call 2 people in recovery just for encouragement. Text 3 people daily just to check in. These simple actions build your connection map. As you go through the week, ask yourself, when did I feel most disconnected? And how can fellowship renew my strength? The Big Book doesn't just describe the problem of loneliness, it points to the solution. To watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is the promise. The darkness wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of your transformation. Your time in isolation is over. Your community is waiting. All you have to do is show up. Thanks for watching.